Hi, I'm Jean Edelman. For decades, I've been a student of the healing arts: Reiki, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, acupuncture, plant-based, and macrobiotic cooking. Join me on this journey and hear my thoughts of the week. Welcome back, dear friend, to Self-Care with Jean. This week we have a very, very special extended podcast with Dr. William Li. Dr. William Li is a physician, a scientist, and a best-selling author. He's written 2 books, Eat to Beat Disease and Eat to Beat Your Diet. I am so blessed to have met Dr. Li a year ago when our Edelman Fossil Park Museum opened up in Mantua, New Jersey. Dr. Li and I are very aligned in our messaging that food is medicine, and paying attention to what we're eating and how we're eating can absolutely affect our health. And so, dear friend, I invite you to this extended podcast with Dr. William Li on food and our health and how to eat, and some highlights that can help our metabolism and help us feel better. So enjoy, get some pen and paper, and take some notes. This is part 1 of a 4-part conversation with Dr. William Li. For the latest on cutting-edge food as medicine, metabolism, and longevity, visit Dr. Li's YouTube channel. Well, I'm so excited to be here with Dr. Li. This is a first. I have never done any interviews, so this is our maiden voyage. So welcome, Dr. William Li. Dr. Li is going to help us connect the dots so that we understand nutrition and health. And Dr. Li is a physician. And Dr. Li, before we jump into the depth, let's outline how we eat, the environment, giving our body a chance to savor. Talk about the science behind that.
Well, Jane, thank you for having me on. I, know that we connected in person at an event, a remarkable event where we instantly realized that we share a lot of common, not just connections, but really sort of philosophies on how to approach life in a healthier way that allows us to feel well. And that's a perfect segue to talk about how to eat. How do we eat in a healthful way? It's a big question because if you think about it, nobody teaches us how to eat. Nobody teaches us. It's one of the few things that nobody teaches us how to do, right? So nobody teaches us how to eat. We come out of mom, we crawl up her belly with skin time. We get our first mouthful of breast milk, then we fall asleep, and then we rinse and repeat for the rest of our lives, right? So
Right.
nobody teaches us how to eat. Nobody teaches us how to sleep. We just come out and we conk out. You know, nobody teaches that, and then the other thing is nobody teaches us how to breathe,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because we
Yep.
come out and we take our first breath, and that's it. So I'm framing this because people should not feel self-conscious that they don't know, quote, how to eat. There's no class, there's no
Right.
course, there's no degree on how to eat, but there is biology. And that's what I am. I'm a physician, I'm a scientist. I study how the body responds to what you put inside it. And how we put things inside our body is really important. Okay, so let's just walk through a couple of simple things. Now, everybody knows that if you wolf your food down, you get that instant gratification of having shoved something down and you're fueling up, for example, that quick lunch break that we get 20 minutes of for lunch. All right. And then you're on your way to doing the next thing, but you really haven't enjoyed the food. You haven't really even tasted the food. You've just put it down your gullet and moved on. And one of the things that is so important about food from a number of perspectives, including biology and health, is really we want to be able to take our time to engage with our food. All right. What does that mean? That means, and by the way, this goes back to, ancient traditions. If you go back to medieval England, the table was set, there was a ritual. People were called to the table. There was a way that you sat and you waited. You waited for the host to be seated. Then you waited for the food to be served. And food wasn't all brought up in one giant cornucopia. where you just shovel it down like at a Vegas buffet, uh, it was put out and people took servings, right? So I believe history tells us a lot. And the reason is that timed eating, okay, allows us to have the flexibility to determine how quickly we put food in our mouth and how we chew and savor flavors. Now, savoring is really enjoying. And if you take a look at the great culinary traditions of the world, I'm not talking about the drive through for fast food. And I'm not talking about dashing through the airport and grabbing something at the newsstand that you're going to like wolf down when you're, before you land. I'm really talking about these incredible culinary traditions that have shaped the healthiest cultures in the world, like in the Mediterranean. Okay. You've heard about the blue zones, these healthy areas where people live long and live well. You've heard about Asian cuisine, very, very healthy. By the way, I want to address one little mythology, which is that, you know, my good friend Dan Buettner says like just 5 blue zones, maybe you're going to add another one. Actually, I think that there are lots of blue zones out there. They've just not yet all been discovered. So we need to pay attention to find out new cultures where people are eating in healthy ways that then allow them to live long and well. The other thing is if you look at Mediterranean healthy food, I want to make a distinction. Today's modern Mediterranean eating is not necessarily healthy. There's as much junk food and, fast food and modern American habits in the Mediterranean as there are in America. But I think what we can pay attention to is the traditional Mediterranean pattern of eating. So if you go to simpler restaurants or simpler villages and you eat more traditional foods, you'll find out that this is a little bit like what we were describing earlier. You sit down, they bring out food, you get to savor the food. The flavors are so amazing. And that's where this culinary tradition comes from. Why did we actually put spices and herbs and, flavoring our food? Why did we do that over the centuries? Because it allowed us to savor our food. All right. I mean, if we were just, chasing after, the saber-toothed tiger and pouncing on them and eating, mouthfuls of food like prehistoric days, we wouldn't have a sauce. We wouldn't actually have a poached meal. We wouldn't actually have dressings to put on top of it. But I think that we should be celebrating our humanity. Now, when you take your time to eat, it allows food to enter your stomach, stretch our stomach naturally, and that stretch sends satiety signals that we are starting to get full right to our brain. It's a text message. If you eat fast, you fill up, the whole sack of your stomach gets full faster than you can send that signal to your brain. And so you just keep on shoveling. But if you take your time to eat your meal in that way that allows you to appreciate and chew your food, your brain will read that signal so you won't overeat. Now, the other aspect about savoring your food is that you got to chew it, right?
Right.
So remember what grandma said, don't wolf your food, chew your food.
Uh,
And I think when my grandmother said it to me, I always thought she meant because by chewing it, it's better digested. But in point of fact, we now have new research to show that if you chew food adequately, like I'm just going to say roasted beets,
okay.
maybe roasted beets with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, maybe some fresh ground cracked pepper or coriander, something to make it really taste good. And you're slicing it and chewing it. Here's something remarkable that happens. Beets grow close to the ground, to soil. They're a great source of natural nitrogen from the soil. Nitrogen is in our soil. And so when we chew our beets, chew, 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 because it tastes great, we are exposing that soil nitrogen to, guess what? Our tongue bacteria. And the bacteria in our tongue, the microbiome, healthy bacteria in our tongue, interacts with that soil nitrogen and converts it into the form. All right. Our gut starts in our mouth, That gut bacteria, microbiome, starts in our mouth, converts that nitrogen into a form that when we swallow it, okay, and this will only happen if you chew it adequately, it'll get absorbed into your bloodstream in a form that it becomes nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a natural signal. You absorb it in your stomach, and you know what it does? It causes our blood vessels to relax and dilate. Two things happen. Blood pressure comes down, we feel calmer. Number one. Number two, blood pressure goes down, less stress in our cardiovascular system. You know, for every point your blood pressure goes down, you lower your risk of a fatal stroke by about 4%. All right, so that's big. So actually, you're protecting yourself. You're covering your own brain later by having blood pressure go down. We're talking about eating beets and chewing it. All right,
Beets. Yeah, I love
beets.
it.
All
I
right,
love it.
and the other thing is that the nitric oxide from their beets, from chewing it, recruits stem cells out of our own body, our own natural stem cells. They live in our bone marrow, okay? And the nitric oxide will call out the stem cells that already live in our body naturally. They call them out like bees coming out of a hive to circulate in our bloodstream naturally. And what these stem cells do is they heal and regenerate us from the inside out. All right, because they're stem cells. They're regenerating us. So something simple, by taking your time so you don't overeat. You let the signals go to your brain, savoring your food. So you chew it and you allow the gut microbiome that starts in your mouth to interact with what's naturally in our foods. It gets absorbed into our bloodstream for healing, for relaxing, for protecting. This is actually that simple question of how to eat and the pace we eat. This is just a tip of the iceberg, but I think it just goes to show how powerful it is for us to eat mindfully.
That's wonderful. I'm going to go make some beets tonight. Absolutely. Next week on Self Care with Jean, we will continue the conversation with Dr. William Lee. This is part 2 of a 4-part series. Dr. Lee is going to take us on a personal journey to the Mediterranean and to a 16th century monastery kitchen. He shares how food as medicine became his life's mission. Join us next week on Self Care with Jean. Remember, my friends, this is Earth School. We're here to learn to love ourselves, love each other. What better way to love ourselves than to cook whole food, to care, to have mindful eating, to take our time to savor, to understand that digestion begins in our mouth and our gut, and take our time, savor our food, love ourselves, love each other, and then remember that life comes from us and life is for us. We had a wonderful conversation with Dr. William Lee. I encourage you to join me next week because we're going to continue with part 2. Have a great week, everybody. Dive in. Food is medicine.